Hamas chief and his bodyguard assassinated in Tehran, Iran. Good morning and welcome to Amishikil 5858. I am Amir Budnam. I am thankful to all international news resources and my team. Following news have been taken by American, European, Canadian and African channels and from AP, AFP and Reuters news agencies. Now the headlines. Israel bombed Beirut, killed Hezbollah key leader. Kamala Harris will visit battleground state next week and pick the running mate for his 2024 election. Simone Biles captured gold in French Olympic. A severe tropical storm is coming and there is rain in northeast. 60 million Americans in heat warning. Landslide in India killed many people in Kerala state. Political turmoil in Venezuela after elections. Fire in Northern California raging on. Acting Secret Service chief in front of Congress. On Wall Street, there was a mixed performance. Dow Jones Industrial increased, Nasdaq and S&P 500 decreased.
Tonight, several breaking stories as we come on the air. ABC News learning tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris plans to hit several battleground states next week with her pick for running mate. So how soon could she make her pick known? What we're learning. Also tonight, Simone Biles and Team USA capturing gold. Biles making history tonight. And we're tracking severe storms across several states at this hour and a potential tropical threat that could affect the East. Ginger Z is here. First tonight, Team USA wins gold in women's gymnastics. And Simone Biles has now more Olympic medals than any other American gymnast. She said she doesn't keep count and that this victory is for the whole team. James Longman standing by in Paris. Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris and her pick for running mate. How soon is it coming? As ABC News now learns, Harris plans to hit the battleground states with her pick for running mate next week. And tonight, Donald Trump defending comments by his running mate, J.D. Vance. Tonight, severe storms across multiple states, dangerous winds, and 60 million Americans under heat alerts. With a potential tropical threat brewing, we're watching it. It could affect the East. Ginger Z standing by with the forecast. Meanwhile, we're also tracking the out-of-control park fire in Northern California, now the fifth largest in state history. One couple already losing one home to a massive wildfire, now losing a second home to the flames. Tonight, new reporting in the deadly police shooting of a mother who had called 911 herself, Sonia Massey. The sheriff saying, "We failed Sonia," amid new calls tonight for him to resign. The news conference just moments ago. Tonight, fears of a growing conflict, Israel striking Beirut in retaliation, claiming it took out a senior Hezbollah commander believed responsible for the deadly rocket attack that killed a dozen children. Marcus Moore in Beirut. On Capitol Hill today, the heated testimony after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. The acting head of the Secret Service is grilled, acknowledging a counter-drone system that might have picked up the shooter was not working. Here in the U.S. news tonight about the alleged serial killer outside New York City, what we've learned. Tesla recalling nearly 2 million vehicles over concerns of the hood flying open while driving. The Olympics and this image tonight, the surfer in the air, how it was captured. And the American gymnast, the team winning bronze, but it's his glasses and comparisons to Clark Kent that have made him a viral hit tonight.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. What we're learning about Vice President Kamala Harris tonight and her pick for a running mate and the plan all ready for next week. But we begin tonight with the gold for Team USA in women's gymnastics at the Summer Games in Paris. The team stretching their lead at the top of the medal count. The women's gymnastics team taking gold today in the all-around final after going home with silver at the Tokyo Games 4 years ago. The team powered today by the performance of Simone Biles, who pulled out of the same event in Tokyo. Now she's America's most decorated Olympic gymnastics champion ever. What she said about that, she says she doesn't keep count, instead saying this was the whole team. Our foreign correspondent James Longman was inside the arena in Paris when the team took gold.
Tonight, Simone Biles and Team USA golden again, coming out on top in the all-around final. Biles withdrew from this competition in Tokyo after suffering from what gymnasts call the twisties. They took silver in those games. Their last gold was 8 years ago in Rio. But today, Biles twisted and turned effortlessly, pushing through a calf injury, competing in all 4 events. And at the very end, all eyes were on the 27-year-old for the floor exercise.
Her motions, matching the music. Makes another pass.
The now 8-time medalist cementing her place in the record books as America's most decorated gymnast.
I don't keep count. I don't keep stats. I just go out here and do what I'm supposed to, and I'm doing what I love and enjoying it.
Biles crediting her teammates, Jade Carey on the vault, Jordan Charles on the uneven bars, and Suni Lee shining on the beam. Her Olympic career was threatened by 2 rare forms of kidney disease. She's now in remission.
I could feel myself getting a little rattled, but once I calmed down, I did probably one of the best beam routines that I could have done.
The gold tasting good for Team USA, Italy taking silver, their first gymnastics medal since 1928, and Brazil with an historic bronze, their first ever team medal in gymnastics. Kristen Ergood and her son Pavlik are from Washington, D.C. They're still energized after watching the competition.
They're incredible athletes, and the role models they are for young girls in the United States and across the world is absolutely incredible.
Eileen Gu is a Winter Olympian and a friend of Simone's.
I know that she was going through some minor injury stuff, but I think clearly it didn't show today, and I have high hopes for her in the next events as well.
Now, the heavens have opened here in Paris tonight, David, but Simone Biles now becomes the most decorated American Olympic gymnast in history. Take a look at this photograph, her on the beam. She says she doesn't count the medals, she credits her teammates, but she still has more to do this week. There are more events to go. She could get more medals. David?
We're cheering on the whole women's gymnastics team and Simone Biles making history today. James Longman from a rainy Paris tonight. James, thank you.
Yango, different from a taxi.
From a rainy Paris tonight, James, thank you. We turn back to the other news tonight here at home in the race for president. Vice President Kamala Harris just 1 week into her campaign now, and tonight ABC News has learned that Harris plans to hit the battleground states next week with her pick for a running mate. So when will she make her choice known? Mary Bruce on the campaign trail tonight.
Tonight, Vice President Harris heading out to the crucial battleground of Georgia as her campaign zeroes in on a key decision: who will be her running mate.
Madam Vice President, have you chosen your VP yet? Have you chosen yet?
Overnight, one top contender taking his name out of the mix. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper saying this just wasn't the right time to be on a national ticket. Another possible contender, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, also out on the stump campaigning for Harris.
I trust she will make that decision on her own terms when she is ready, as she does every decision in the best interest of the country.
Harris's decision happening at warp speed. Her campaign just over a week old, but she's already expected to announce her running mate next week. A source familiar saying the two will then hit several key battlegrounds together. Harris is hoping her pick will build on her early momentum, even as Donald Trump looks to calm the controversy swirling around his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance. Vance under fire for his 2021 comments denigrating adults who don't have children.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
Overnight, Trump coming to Vance's defense.
All he said is he does for him, he likes family. I think a lot of people like family, and sometimes it doesn't work out. And you know why? You don't meet the right person, or you don't meet any person, but you're just as good, in many cases a lot better than a person that's in a family situation.
But today, new comments surfacing from Vance's past, explicitly attacking the character of people who don't have children.
And the fact that so many people, especially in America's leadership class, just don't have that in their lives, I worry that it makes people more sociopathic and ultimately our whole country a little bit less less mentally stable. You go on Twitter, and almost always the people who are most deranged and most psychotic are people who don't have kids at home.
Tonight, Vance on the campaign trail in Nevada, filling the more traditional role of a running mate, the attack dog.
Kamala Harris was the most liberal member of the United States Senate. And thanks to the people in this room, she is never going to be the president of the United States.
Harris firing back, challenging Trump to show up to their debate in September.
So he won't debate, but he and his running mate sure seem to have a lot to say about me. Well, Donald, I do hope you'll reconsider to meet me on the debate stage. Because as the saying goes, if you've got something to say,
All right, let's bring in Mary Bruce. She's live in Atlanta. Mary, Kamala Harris in a key battleground, of course, Georgia tonight. You reported there that ABC News has learned the vice president plans to be in the key battlegrounds next week with her pick for a running mate. So obviously, the vice president is expected to announce her running mate in the coming days. How soon? What have you learned tonight?
Well, David, Kamala Harris is now on a very tight timeline. She's expected to announce her running mate by August 7th. That gives her just 1 week to make this consequential decision. I'm told it's not likely to happen in the coming days, more likely early next week. And then the new ticket will be hitting the trail together, hoping to keep up this kind of energy and these massive crowds. David.
Mary Bruce, live in Georgia tonight. Mary, thank you. Next tonight, here, severe storms across multiple states. Dangerous winds expected. 60 million Americans also under heat alerts tonight. With the potential tropical threat we're also watching this evening that could eventually affect the east. So let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z tracking it all for us again tonight. Hi, Ginger.
Hi, David. We're watching that severe thunderstorm watch that just popped in Atlanta, so North Georgia, Western South Carolina. And along these lines of storms, we've already seen more than 100 severe storm reports, most of them for damaging winds in excess of 65 miles per hour. So all the way back to North Dakota, we're watching that tonight. But by tomorrow morning, southeastern Iowa, southern Illinois, I want you to wake up and know you've got severe storms. Have 2 ways of getting warnings. That's a couple of rounds that'll come through. But then by the evening, western Iowa, eastern Nebraska are going to be under the gun. I also want to talk about under this ridge. We have excessive heat warnings that includes Memphis, Greenville, there in Mississippi, back to Kansas City, and finally that area that we're watching for development by the weekend. We could see our next named storm right now. Too early to tell who it'll impact, but anybody in Florida, the Bahamas should be watching it closely. David?
The wind picking up in the New York area as well tonight. Ginger, thank you. We're also tracking this out-of-control wildfire, the Park Fire north of Sacramento, now burning an area larger than all of Los Angeles. Now the 5th largest wildfire in California history, burning hundreds of homes to the ground already in Molalenge in California again tonight.
Tonight, new video from firefighters on the front lines showing the all-out battle to control the Park Fire. With those fire hoses, no match for the roaring flames. Thousands of personnel have been battling the blaze for nearly a week, trying to stop the forward spread of the largest fire in California.
While conditions have improved, firefighters are still scrambling to put out spot fires like these that, as you can see, can spread quickly.
The Park Fire climbing another rung in the record books. Now, California's 5th biggest fire on record. Authorities lifting evacuation orders for the town of Paradise, the town ravaged by the Camp Fire back in 2018.
I really liked living in the mountains, but I don't think I can do it again.
Christy and Michael Deneau lost their home in that fire, and now lost the home they rebuilt in this one.
We've spent our whole adult lives building towards these moments, to own a house, to have a place that our grandchildren can come in the future. Well, now we don't have any foreseeable thing in the future for that.
Well, David, fire officials hoping to get a handle on this fire, but it is expected to burn for at least a few more weeks. In the meanwhile, they will likely have their hands full for at least the next few days, as extreme triple-digit temperatures are expected to move into the area, potentially creating some very difficult conditions for firefighters on the ground, David.
Mola Lengi right there on the ground force again tonight. Thanks, Mola. We have new reporting here this evening in the deadly police shooting of a mother who called 911 herself, Sonia Massey. The sheriff saying we failed Sonia amid new calls tonight for him to resign. Here's Alex Perez.
Tonight, the family of Sonia Massey, who was gunned down by a deputy in her own home, is demanding the sheriff who hired that officer resign.
Justice for Sonia Massey! Justice for Sonia Massey!
But that sheriff from Sangamon County, Illinois, refusing to step down.
I will not abandon the sheriff's office at a most critical moment. It was all nothing.
And for the first time, apologizing to the community.
We failed Sonia. We failed Sonia's family and friends. We failed the community. And I stand here today before you with my arms wide open and I ask for your forgiveness.
Massey had called police to report a possible prowler, but things quickly escalated when deputies told her she could remove a pot of boiling water from the stove.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired!
Deputy Sean Grayson has been fired and charged with murder, but tonight mounting questions about his troubling history in law enforcement, working at 6 police departments in 4 years.
Do you understand that's a violation of pursuit policy? Yes, I do.
That's Grayson in a 2022 recording being questioned by his last boss about mishandling a traffic case. He was also accused of submitting inaccurate reports.
Do you agree, before we conclude this, that there's a mountain of policy violations that you committed?
And David, Sean Grayson is being held without bond. He's pleaded not guilty. His attorney has declined to comment. David?
Alex Perez tonight. Thank you, Alex. Now to the fears of a growing conflict in the Middle East. Israel striking Beirut in retaliation, claiming it took out a senior Hezbollah commander believed to be responsible for the deadly rocket attack, killing a dozen children. Marcus Moore now from Beirut.
Tonight, an Israeli airstrike rocking southern Beirut. The IDF claims it killed Hezbollah's most senior military commander, although that has not been independently confirmed. At least 2 people reportedly died in the attack and another 20 were injured. The Israelis say Hezbollah's Fa'ud Shukur was heavily involved in the rocket attack that killed 12 children and teenagers at a soccer field in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights on Saturday. Hezbollah has denied responsibility, even though it has been firing rockets into Israel for 10 months in solidarity with Hamas militants in Gaza. Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu visited the town and soccer field where the children were killed and promised the response would be, quote, severe. Sources tell ABC News the U.S. was given advance notice of today's airstrike. And on the campaign trail, Vice President Kamala Harris offered her support of Israel's actions.
Yes, it has the right to defend itself against a terrorist organization, which is exactly what Hezbollah is. But all of that being said, we still must work on a diplomatic solution to end these attacks, and we will continue to do that work.
And David, the strike here in Beirut was meant to send a strong message, but it's also raising concerns that Hezbollah's possible response will only add to the risk of this spiraling out of control. David.
Marcus Moore with us from Beirut. Thanks, Marcus. Here on Capitol Hill in the U.S., the heated testimony after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. In fact, today, the acting head of the Secret Service was grilled. And here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe grilled on Capitol Hill, calling the security gaps that led to the attempted assassination of Donald Trump a complete failure. Describing his visit to the scene
What I saw made me ashamed. I cannot defend why that roof was not better secured.
Rowe displaying these images, which he says is the view that a local sniper team could have had, which he believes would have enabled them to see Thomas Matthew Crooks before he opened fire.
The gold arrow indicates where the shooter fired from. Why was the assailant not seen?
The acting director admitting a Secret Service counter-drone system, which could have detected the shooter and his drone, failed during the critical hours before the shooting.
I have no explanation for it. It is something that I feel as though we could have perhaps found him. We could have maybe stopped him.
Acting Director Rowe vowing to take action. He said if the investigation reveals any Secret Service employees violated agency protocols, they will be disciplined and possibly fired, David.
Pierre Thomas up on the Hill for us tonight. Pierre, thank you. When we come back, outside New York City news tonight about that alleged serial killer. Also the major Tesla recall tonight. And the Olympics, the American gymnast now being compared to Clark Kent. What he's saying about that tonight. Tonight outside New York City, new developments in the case against alleged Long Island serial killer Rex Heuermann. In court today, prosecutors revealing they've received more than 7,000 tips. Heuermann is charged with murdering 6 women, prosecutors weighing more possible charges in the case. When we come back tonight, Tesla and a major recall, concerns over hoods flying open, and the American gymnast being called the Clark Kent of the Games. To the index, Tesla recalling 1.8 million vehicles, concerns the vehicle's software may not detect an unlatched hood, possibly causing the hood to fully open while driving. The recall includes some Model 3, Model S, and Model X Teslas from 2021 to 2024, and a Model Y from 2020 to 24. Tesla providing a software update. The Olympic hero known as Pommel Horse Guy, also being called the Clark Kent of the Games tonight. American gymnast Steven Nedorosek was on the sidelines for a while, says he was meditating, breathing exercises before his event, getting attention for his Clark Kent-style glasses. Then the glasses came off, of course, and he helped the U.S. men's team win the bronze medal. He calls himself a, quote, goofy guy with the glasses on, but says as soon as I take them off, I'm locked in, ready to go. As for the Clark Kent comments online, he calls it an awesome comparison. Yeah, not a bad comparison. When we come back here tonight, one more image from the Olympics. It had people around the world asking, how did the photographer capture that? You'll see it in a moment. Finally tonight, the Olympic photo airborne tonight. Tonight, history made at the Olympics, the astonishing photograph capturing the moment. That's Brazilian surfer Gabriel Medina, his arm in the air celebrating. It appeared he was floating above the ocean in the air along with his surfboard. The incredible photo now going viral, seen around the world. He had just earned the highest ever single wave score in Olympics history with a 9.90, just shy of a perfect 10. Paddling out, catching the giant wave, barreling out and soaring into the air. Afterward, celebrating with his coach, easily advancing to the men's surfing quarterfinal, telling Olympics.com it felt amazing and it's really a dream come true to compete in waves like this for the Olympics. I'm very happy to be part of this. He's competing with the other Olympic surfers nearly 10,000 miles away from Paris in Tahiti. Tonight, the photographer Jerome Bollier telling Time magazine he was able to capture the striking image because of the ideal weather conditions and, quote, experience, timing, and a bit of luck. Tonight, the picture-perfect moment and history made at the Olympics. Just incredible. I'll see you right here tomorrow night. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Time.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Bennett. Amna Nawaz is away. On the NewsHour tonight, Israeli forces target a high-ranking Hezbollah military leader, raising fears of an escalated conflict in the region. Vice President Kamala Harris campaigns in Georgia, a state that's now even more hotly contested than expected. And Congress advances a bill aimed at protecting children online, but critics warn it could lead to censorship. The day's other headlines begin in California, where the rapidly spreading park fire is now the 5th largest in state history. Firefighters battled its flames overnight as they were fanned by gusty winds. As of today, the blaze had scorched nearly 600 square miles. At a briefing this morning, Governor Gavin Newsom said this summer's fire activity is already well above average, and he urged residents to heed official warnings.
This is the beginning of the season. We're seeing significantly more intense activity, and so I pray that people are mindful of these evacuation orders. They take them seriously. You can replace a home. You can't replace a life.
Dozens of other large fires are burning in the west amid hot and dry conditions. That's in stark contrast to the northeast, where torrential rains soaked northern Vermont again today. Rivers washed out roads, and authorities had to rescue some 24 people. In southern India, landslides have killed at least 106 people, and many more are believed to be trapped under the debris. Heavy rain sent mud and waters gushing through the hills of Kerala state. Rescuers used zip lines over rushing waters to search for survivors. Local media are reporting that many of the victims were employees at the area's tea farms and estates and their families.
All the victims were sleeping yesterday night when the disaster struck. Victims, including children, were buried in the landslide before sunrise.
Kerala is one of India's most popular tourist destinations and is prone to heavy rains. Tuesday's landslides are the worst disaster there since flooding in 2018 killed nearly 500 people. International pressure is growing on Venezuela following that country's disputed presidential election, which gave incumbent Nicolás Maduro another 6 years in office. The U.S. State Department today called for a tabulation of the results, saying the election was, quote, undermined by anti-democratic actions, political repression, and electoral manipulation. While in Caracas, supporters of the opposition held a peaceful protest today to voice their anger at the official result. Opposition leaders say they have proof their candidate, Edmundo González, defeated Maduro in a landslide in Sunday's vote. Protesters today said the nation is ready for a change.
We must find the way to have elections be respected. The people of Venezuela spoke. It wants a political change. It wants a change from what we've lived these last 25 years.
Also today, Venezuela's Attorney General announced that more than 700 people had been detained in protests that took place on Monday. He said that some will be charged with terrorism offenses. An investigation into historical abuse at U.S. government-run boarding schools found that nearly twice as many Native American children died as previously thought. At least 973 children are now known to have perished over a 150-year period that ended in 1969. An initial report 2 years ago estimated that more than 500 children had died. The findings cited sickness and abuse at schools that were set up to assimilate Native American children into white society. The investigation was commissioned by Interior Secretary Deb Haaland and has led to calls for the government to apologize to victims of the abuse. Stocks finished mixed on Wall Street today as investors wait for tomorrow's Federal Reserve meeting and any clues on interest rates. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 200 points on the day, but the Nasdaq dropped more than 200 points and amid caution over some big tech earnings. The S&P 500 also ended lower, falling by 0.5%. And William Calley, the U.S. Army lieutenant who led his troops in carrying out the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, has died. He actually passed away in April, but media reports only confirmed his death this week. Calley was the only officer convicted for his role in the atrocity, the most notorious war crime in modern American history. In 1968, Calley and his soldiers slaughtered an estimated 500 unarmed women, children, and elderly with machine guns, grenades, and bayonets. Their actions were covered up in military reports for over a year. He was court-martialed and received a life sentence, but only served 3 years under house arrest. Calley had long maintained that he had just been following orders. William Calley was 80 years old. Shifting our focus now to the Olympics in Paris, and spoiler alert, we have some results to bring you. The women of U.S. gymnastics reclaimed their Olympic title. Simone Biles powered through the pressure and a tweaked calf from earlier competition to lead a squad packed with Olympic veterans to gold. In rugby, the U.S. women's team defeated Australia for their first ever medal, a bronze. U.S. men's soccer is through to the quarterfinals for the first time in 24 years, finishing second in their group after a win against Guinea. But in tennis, the number 2 seed Coco Gauff is out of the singles competition after an emotional match that included a controversial line call. As of this evening, the U.S. leads the total medal count, 4 of them gold. France and China are positioned in 2nd and 3rd place. Still to come on the News Hour, we examine the impact of the changing race for the White House on many critical down-ballot races. Senators question the acting head of the Secret Service about the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. And a former Hong Kong bookstore begins a new chapter in upstate New York.
We are coming on the air with a key swing state stop and new hints on a new ticket for Democrats, according to our team's sources. When Vice President Harris may hit the road with her new running mate, and what Megan Thee Stallion has to do with it when we take you to Atlanta live. And the head of the Secret Service, ashamed, he says, at the security failures in the Trump assassination attempt, saying it's not defensible. So what happens next? And our NBC News exclusive with the Attorney General about it all. Plus, the moment the world was waiting for, Israel hitting back at Hezbollah with new images now coming in of the strike's aftermath. We'll take you live to Lebanon. And out west, why firefighters are struggling to get the park fire under control with thousands of people still not able to head back home. Plus, call them the Redeem Team, going for and getting gold 4 years after stumbling in Tokyo. We'll tell you how the women's gymnastics squad pulled it off, what to watch for from them next, and the TikToks they planned right after they won. That's later in the show. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and tonight Democrats appear to be getting closer to a presidential...
On this Tuesday night, Israel's revenge on Hezbollah. The top commander targeted in an attack on Beirut and the pleas for calm. Venezuela's growing unrest. Protests spread as President Nicolas Maduro is accused of stealing the election. Canada's new Olympic milestone, the latest historic victory, and the heat wave hitting Paris. Plus, reality check. Were dead trees ravaged by mountain pine beetles a major factor?
Tonight, Israel retaliates, targeting the top Hezbollah commander it says is responsible for an attack that left 12 children dead.
There's a scene of real chaos here, but also of real anger.
The escalating tensions in a rare strike inside Lebanon. There are growing fears tonight of a widening war in the Middle East. The CBS Evening News starts now. Tonight, Israel says it has eliminated that key Hezbollah commander in a strike using fighter jets. Now the big question, how will the terror group respond? Good evening, I'm Nora O'Donnell, and thank you for being with us. The world is watching what happens next as fears rise that an all-out war could erupt on Israel's northern border. We're just learning that 3 people are dead and 74 others are injured in the Beirut strike. That's according to Lebanon's health ministry. But the IDF says it got its target. Why does it matter? Well, the right-hand man to Hezbollah's Secretary General was targeted. Remember, he was a commander involved in the 1983 attack on a U.S. Marine Corps barracks in Beirut that killed hundreds of U.S. military personnel. CBS's Imtiaz Tayeb reports from the neighborhood that was hit.
This is what Israeli retaliation looks like. Beirut's densely populated southern Dahya neighborhood showered in debris following a precision strike by Israeli fighter jets. When we arrived at the scene shortly afterwards, hundreds had already gathered.
Well, just over my shoulder, you can see there is one of the buildings.
How big is this place?
Almost 1,500 square feet.
What a beautiful view.
It's lovely. It's 2 bed, 2 bath.
David Hutchinson has been showing this condo a lot. Asking price, just over $2.6 million. It's part of a fancy downtown hotel complex and has been on the market for 6 months.
And there's been showings and there's been interest, so that's all positive. But the issue is supply and demand. There's a lot of supply right now.
At the end of June, there were 429 apartments in Vancouver listed for more than $2 million. That's a 21% increase over the year before. Now, listings at all price points are up, but not that much, around 7.5% year over year. This new designer luxury building lists 26 properties for sale. The priciest? A $13.5 million 3-bedroom. Hutchinson says part of the reason for all of the supply, fewer buyers from overseas.
There's a saying that when the Chinese economy sneezes, Vancouver catches a cold.
Forget sneezing. China's real estate economy is collapsing and has been for a while. Plummeting portfolios mean Chinese investors aren't shopping for fancy Canadian apartments like they used to.
So people were kind of assuming that that boom period of 2015 to 2019 was going to last. And they committed themselves to projects, to major real estate development projects, and particularly in Vancouver, high-end real estate developments that no longer have the market and an appetite for in Asia.
This real estate agent says government policies have also contributed to supply.
Yeah, I definitely think foreign buyer tax, speculation tax, empty homes tax, it hasn't made it a favorable place to put money.
Having a lot of multi-million-dollar condos on the market isn't likely to make a difference for your average home buyer. But for those in the market for luxury, there's a lot of choice. And although it's far from a bargain, you just might get a discount. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
Tonight, Team Canada rises in rugby, scoring silver on the pitch in Paris. How the women impressed the world during a gutsy game. And still, no swimming in the Seine. Pollution postpones competition. Israel goes after a Hezbollah commander in Beirut.
He was a senior terrorist who has the blood of Israelis.
The rising rebuke in Venezuela, the ongoing outcry over an election. and residents on the run from wildfires in the West.
We're evacuating all the people with the highest health priorities.
The rain reduces the risk in BC as Alberta assesses the damage done in Jasper. Plus, eyes on the skies for a solar storm.
There's a very good chance we're going to see some good northern lights tonight.
The stars collide for a dazzling display.
Welcome back, and welcome to Kill or Kill Me. Now, everyone always says, why is Gutfeld #1 in late night? And I know the secret. It's all the wisecracks that Greg makes at my expense. Our beloved Greg carves out special time each day to think of fun, clever, new ways to make fun of me, according to reports. And obviously, I don't think that I don't want the ratings to dip. Just because I'm here hosting doesn't mean we need to break the format. So each guest will tell some jokes at my expense. It's my first time hearing them. So here we go. Tom, begin.
Here we go. A pollster who correctly predicted every election since 1984 is now on record saying that Brian Kilmeade is a loser.
You did not sound reluctant reading that. You really embrace that. Morgan, your turn. Remember, I'm always nice to you.
You are, so I feel bad. But this is funny. His books are better sleep or a better sleep aid than a fistful of Relaxium.
Take that, Governor Huckabee. I appreciate it. That's not going to help sales.
Sorry.
Kat, I know I'm dragging you into this, and this is reluctant, but this is your job. Take a shot at me.
Some of these are real mean.
Some
like
of them?
This one is really not nice. I'm just warning you. When he did a play-by-play on the Puppy Bowl, they asked to be euthanized. That's really horrible. I mean, this one, too. Gynecologists agree. When birth control is unavailable, you can't go wrong with a photo of Brian Kilmeade. Oh, this one's mean to multiple people.
Supposed to just have one.
Brian's on so many Fox shows. His nickname around the office is Jimmy Fallon. Oh, wait, this one's awful. His books are so unpopular, he gets regular death threats from both Barnes and Noble.
Cat.
Oh, wow, this one too. Whenever he calls Mrs. Kilmeade, she lets it go to voicemail.
It happens.
Who
She's
wrote
busy during the day. Are you done?
Yeah, those are all the ones I have.
My self-esteem is gone, but yet I still toss to Tyrus. Tyrus.
You know what? I spend months and months, and these people know I defend him every time he does that. Every time. And last week, when someone had the nerve to besmirch your name, who came out and hit them with a thunderous FU? This guy.
Right there.
So I will not read these off this piece of paper. Just quick sidebar. Did you guys watch the show last night? Yes. Okay, cool. I have one joke for you, my friend.
That's it.
Just one.
Okay.
Just one.
All right.
We ready? Knock, knock.
No.
Knock, knock. Just say who's there.
No.
Knock, knock.
No.
We'll say it for him. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Negro.
Let's go to break.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Negro pants, remember? Yes.
All right. Tom Shalhoub, it just came, there's breaking news. Tom Shalhoub has something left in his arsenal.
Yeah, did you hear Coco Gauff cried over a disputed call at the Olympics during her tennis match? It was the saddest display this week by an American after Brian Kilmeade on Fox and Friends. That was a good one.
It was good, yeah. Excuse me? Then we're going to break, right? No, Morgan's good. Morgan, you have another joke?
This is Asia Now.
It's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi, and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Rani Samtani. At this hour, Hamas confirms its leader Ismail Haniyeh has been killed in Tehran in an attack on his residence. The raid in the Iranian capital coming hours after he attended the new president's inauguration and also met the country's supreme leader. Israel claims it killed a Hezbollah commander in a retaliatory strike on Beirut. The attack fueling concerns that Tel Aviv's long-running conflict with the militant group could escalate further. And landslides in the Indian state of Kerala kill more than 100 people. Rescue workers struggling to reach the isolated villages where torrential rains have washed away roads and homes.
A different point of view. Liberté, égalité, actualité.
You're watching France 24. Good to have you with us. I'm Stuart Norval. This is Daybreak on the programme. The main headlines for you. The leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, has been assassinated in Tehran. The confirmation from Iran's Revolutionary Guard and from Hamas itself, which mourned his death, calling it a treacherous Zionist raid on his residence in Tehran. Suspicion for that assassination falling on Israel, which has previously vowed to kill him. No response from them yet. We'll be hearing from our correspondent in Jerusalem shortly. I'll also discuss the latest with our international affairs editor, Keteran Gordistani, and we'll have some of the initial reaction to that news as well. And no response or confirmation yet from Hezbollah after Israel claimed its airstrike in Beirut yesterday evening killed Hezbollah's most senior commander. Israel's defense minister saying the strike killed Fouad Shaka, who has the blood of many Israelis on his hands. I'm going to be talking to our correspondent, Rahad Taha, in Beirut.
France recognizes Morocco's claim over Western Sahara, drawing the anger of Algeria and the Polisario Front. France has drawn the ire of the Polisario Front, the pro-independence movement of Western Sahara, for backing Morocco's annexation of the territory. In a letter to King Mohammed VI, French President Emmanuel Macron called the Moroccan plan, which proposes limited autonomy for Western Sahara, the only basis to solve the conflict. The plan, which was first presented by Morocco in 2007, is opposed by Polisario, which has demanded total independence for Western Sahara, which the UN has long recognized as the legitimate representative of the Sahrawi people.
Human Rights Watch accused the paramilitary group involved in Sudan's civil war of widespread sexual violence against women, including gang rape and forced marriages of young girls. On Monday, the International Rights Organization also pointed fingers at the military for committing acts of sexual violence.
One of the health workers told us that we received a case of a mother and her 4 daughters who were raped in front of their father and brothers.
China and 26 African countries have agreed to strengthen partnerships and boost innovation in the digital sector over the next 3 years. African participants at the Forum on China-Africa Digital Cooperation were hosted Monday by the Chinese Ministry of Industry and Information in Beijing. This digital cooperation between China and Africa is a win-win. It will bring benefits to our countries, the African continent and China through the setting up of innovative infrastructures. The parties jointly issued an action plan which includes the implementation of 10 digital transformation demonstration projects and the training of at least 1,000 professionals. According to the China Academy of ICTs, Chinese firms are involved in bolstering network infrastructures on the continent, benefiting over 900 million people. This includes the deployment of undersea cables by Chinese companies and the launch of data centers.
Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has described China's economic support to Russia's war in Ukraine as a source of great friction. The Italian Prime Minister's comments followed her meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping on Monday in Beijing. It was Giorgia Meloni's first face-to-face meeting with Chinese leaders since Rome withdrew from the Beijing-funded multi-billion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative last year. Meloni wants China to become a key player in helping to end Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine. Moscow's ally, Beijing, is accused by NATO of playing a decisive role in the Ukraine conflict. China, which did not condemn the invasion, says it is neutral in the conflict. It does not deliver weapons to Moscow. It, however, provides it with essential equipment for its war effort. Bilateral trade between Russia and China climbed to around $240 billion last year.
Rescue workers battled bad weather and blocked roads to pull people from debris Tuesday after multiple landslides triggered by torrential rains hit southern India. The landslides struck hilly villages in Kerala state early Tuesday and destroyed many houses and a bridge. Authorities said they needed more time to determine the full scale of the disaster. The death toll stood at 49 on Tuesday, according to the state's authorities. Earth-moving equipment was brought in to clear debris and unblock roads. Army engineers were called in too to build a temporary bridge after landslides destroyed a main bridge that linked the affected area. India's weather department has put Kerala on alert as the state has been lashed by incessant rains. The state is prone to heavy rains, flooding and landslides. Nearly 500 people were killed there in 2018 in one of the worst floods.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh has been assassinated in Tehran. Hamas said in social media posts that Haniyeh and his bodyguard were killed at their residence in the country. No one immediately claimed responsibility, but suspicion immediately fell on Israel, which had vowed to kill Haniyeh and other leaders of Hamas over its October 7th attacks on Israel. The Israeli military says Hezbollah's most senior military commander, Fuad Shakur, was killed in an airstrike on a South Beirut suburb. Israel said it believes Shakur was responsible for an attack in the Israel-occupied Golan Heights that killed 12 children and teenagers on Saturday. The Lebanese militant group denies responsibility. Thousands of protesters have taken to the streets in Venezuela. They're denouncing President Nicolas Maduro's re-election for a third time. They say the vote was stolen. The opposition also rejects the results. At least 6 people have been killed and more than 700 arrested in the demonstrations. You're watching DW News from Berlin. There's lots more on our website, dw.com.
Hello, good morning. It's 6 o'clock. On today's show, the political leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, has been killed in Tehran.
Plus, Angela Rayner plays down the prospect of a backlash among her own MPs at the government's push to build more houses.
It's Wednesday, the 31st of July. Iran says the Hamas political leader of the Gazan armed group was assassinated. And Israel says it's killed a top Hezbollah leader in a rare airstrike on Beirut. Back here, thousands of people gather at a vigil to pay tribute to 3 girls killed during a stabbing attack in Southport. Dozens of police officers are injured during a clash with protesters outside a mosque after the Home Secretary urged people not to spread false information about the suspect. And Andy Murray puts off retirement once again after another epic win in Paris.
Torrents of mud and water through villages in the state of Kerala as people slept. Most of the victims were tea estate workers and their families who lived in small houses or makeshift shelters. Hundreds of people, including army soldiers, are using drones and sniffer dogs to search for survivors. The government has declared 2 days of mourning. Thousands of firefighters are battling major wildfires in the US state of California. More than 4,000 people have been evacuated since the blaze broke out a week ago in the Central Valley. The fire has burned through 155,000 hectares, making it the fifth largest wildfire in the state's history. A man has been charged with starting the fire after a witness alleged they saw him pushing a burning car down an embankment. Meanwhile, dozens of other wildfires are burning in the United States, including 31 in the neighbouring state of Oregon. You can keep up to date at news.abc.net.au and, of course, on ABC iView. Here are the top stories on ABC News. The top political leader of Hamas, Ismail Khamenei, has been killed in Iran. The Palestinian militant group has released a statement confirming he was killed at his residence in Tehran. No one has claimed responsibility for the assassination, but suspicion has fallen on Israel, which vowed to kill him and other Hamas leaders for the group's October 7 attacks on Israel. The annual rate of inflation has risen to 3.8% from 3.6% at the start of the year. ABS data shows prices rose by 1% in the June quarter, the same increase as in the March quarter. But the annual rate is within the Reserve Bank's forecasts, making an interest rate hike unlikely next week. The federal government has responded to the landmark Disability Royal Commission 10 months after the inquiry's final report. It's accepted just 13 of the 172 recommendations to the Commonwealth in full, 117 in part, and referred 36 more for further consultation. It's chosen not to commit to several recommendations, including phasing out special schools and group homes. And administrators overseeing the beleaguered Rex Airlines have told hundreds of employees they're unlikely to receive their wages or redundancy payouts for months. Around 350 workers have already been stood down as the airline cancels its capital city routes. But regional services are still flying as scheduled. Well, let's get more now on our top story. Hamas leader.
Thank you for watching and privilege of your time. This is Amir Shakil 5858. I am Amir Goodman. Have a good life.